Peace and blessings, fam. Welcome to another episode of the Prolific Perspectives podcast. And today I have the honor of having one of my mentors and one of my heroes, one of the people who I look up to the most in the intellectual space. Professor Kaba Kamene is joining us today. Professor Kamene, how you doing today?
Filthy.
My brother Andre, I am doing excellent, brother. I thank you so much for this opportunity to be with, to be on the Prolific Perspectives podcast and with your community of listeners and doers. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. In Kush, we say dua, dua'u, which means eternal thanks.
I appreciate that. That's what's up. That's what's up, man. There's a lot going on. A lot going on. And so I kind of I'll just open up the floor, to let you kind of just tap into what we as a melanated community should be focusing on right now, what we should be preparing ourselves and our families and our children for right now, and what is to come right now, especially with all these things going on as far as the dollars falling, the new banking system, AI, the pros and the cons of that. It's a lot going on. So, based off of what we were speaking off air, I want to kind of, if you can just tap in with the people so you can share what you feel like we need to be prepared for from your lens, from your perspective.
Well, what's interesting, brother Andre, is that I see the light, and I bring the joy. Even with everything going on, I want our community to understand that when the dust settles and everything that goes around has come around, which is, for me, my favorite characteristic of Ma'at, reciprocity. What goes around comes around. In the Bible, they say the first shall come last and the last shall come first. That's the same concept. And so I want to shine the light and bring the joy at this point in our history. I'm not saying that there are not critical things that we have to look at, and in our conversation, we'll talk about it.
Gotcha.
But we have to understand the reason why we are going to do what we do is because we want to shine the light and bring the joy. And we have to do it for our children. Because I realize we can get caught up in all the negativity.
Right.
The devil doesn't lie. The devil confuses. The devil give you 1/4 truth, 3/4 lie. You get so caught up in the lie and the truth that the truth outshines the lie, so that when someone tells a perfect lie, the truth is unbelievable. And that's what the devil does. But what we're experiencing, there's a 1/4 truth in this. What we're looking at, there's a 1/4 truth in a lot of this. But 3/4 of it is a lie. But we get so caught up in the truth, the 1/4 truth, we fumble on the 3/4 lie. And so as a people, brother Andre, we have got to come to understand we must not be distracted. It's very important that we're not distracted.
Right.
And a lot of what's going on out here is distraction. Like I say, that's what the devil do.
Right.
Distracts. So you spend so much time dealing with these emotional issues. You don't deal with the most important thing, which is the advancement of our children.
Right.
And so that's why education is so very important to me. For us, as the adults. For me, I've told our community, I've told teachers, school should be the building where adults go to learn and children go to benefit from what the adults are learning. The Par'ank, which is like the temple of life, was what we called schools in Kush. These were sacred spaces where Ma'at was taught. Ma'at was the representation of truth, justice, balance, harmony, order, arrangement, morality, and reciprocity. Reciprocity, brother. Just think of reciprocity. If I knew that what I did for two other and four other people would come back on me, how would I treat them? And if you did good, good would come back sevenfold. If you did evil, it would come back sevenfold. How would I be thinking when I interacted with nature and with other human beings? How would I treat the earth? How would I treat the air, the water? And reciprocity demands that you understand that you can't escape it.
Right.
It's going to come your way.
It has to.
It's science. If I was standing in front of a stone wall with a rubber ball, and I told you, you know, if I throw this ball against the wall, it's going to come back. Right. Would I have to convince you of that? Nope. If you knew science, no. Right. You know, rubber on stone is going to come back if you throw it at the wall. Right. Well, that's life. That's the way life is. You shall get what you give. You talked about AI. Yeah. There's this new thing that they're talking about, ChatGPT.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Now, it's according to your view towards knowledge and wisdom. If you're simply going to school so that you can get a piece of paper, or your parents told you you had to go, you didn't really want to be there, ChatGPT is a wonderful thing. I'm working on some webinars and some webinars. We were talking before we went live on the Moors.
Right.
My updated research and what I'm doing now to prepare for that is exciting for me.
Right. Right.
If I were to just type in the Moors and ChatGPT put together something for me, and I didn't have to do the research, I wouldn't enjoy that.
Right.
I'm excited by studying. I'm not trying to take the easy way out of what we're doing. And that's what ChatGPT. Now, there's a good side to ChatGPT.
Right.
Because there are things that become so troublesome, you know, they're minor things that if they could do that for me while I'm doing something that is important, then that's good. When I go on and I look at Wikipedia and I can type in something and I can get information, that's good.
Right.
Artificial intelligence, if used properly, is great. Artificial intelligence allows us to sit here and talk to each other and have a whole bunch of other people watch our conversation.
Thanks.
That's a good thing. But if we came on here and was putting everybody down and saying negative things about people, now you took AI and you did something negative with it.
Right.
If people are trying to lock into your bank account so they can steal your money,
which is happening a lot.
Yeah. Okay, that's AI on the evil side.
Right.
So it's not what it is that's important, it's how you use it.
I got you.
You know, like I tell the younger generation how I mean, I just admire the computer, you know, in my work. You know, I come from typewriter generation.
Right. Me too.
You know, when I said cut and paste back in the day, I meant scissors and glue. You know, to be able to move things around on the computer where I can take this chapter or this paragraph and put it down here and take this and put it there, doing a PowerPoint where I can take that slide and put it down here and put the up. Man, that's great.
Right.
On our phones. Okay. I worked with Dr. Chancellor Williams in 1984. I came upon the brother at a time when he was legally blind. He had onset of loss of eyesight. He was living in a senior complex, and he had just lost a great deal of his information. Don't know if it was a fire or a flood, didn't talk to him about it. but he was devastated. His books, his writings, okay? And so I understood the pain that the brother was feeling.
Right.
But now I can show you something that I wonder sometimes if he had had. Here, I have Kindle.
Yep.
I have my books.
Mm-hmm.
Here is my passport.
Yep.
Smaller than regular passports.
Right.
1,000 gigabytes. All my work is on this.
Right.
Had Dr. Chancellor Williams had this and this, he might have been sad to lose everything, but he didn't lose it.
Right. Right.
So this is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't have no more room in my house for books.
Right. Right. I can imagine.
Kindle is where my library is, on my computer.
Mm-hmm.
You know, on my other tablet, I have my books. Where I'm on an airplane and I got some free time, I can read.
Right. Right.
I'm sitting in traffic, I can read.
Oh yeah.
AI is wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm reading about how to destroy something,
Right.
then there's a problem.
Absolutely.
If my work is meant to destroy positive vibration, then what I put on my passport is not a good thing.
Right.
So AI has its place, but there's nothing more powerful than natural intelligence.
That's facts.
And we just have to understand that. Because no matter what AI does, somebody had to program that.
Right.
Even
Right.
if they say that it's beginning to learn how to feel, you have to program those feelings from a human being into that computer.
Yep.
Natural intelligence will always be greater than artificial. The spirit is always indomitable to all of the forces.
Mm.
And we as human beings have been divinely gifted with that. And no, spirit comes from 3 gifts that we've been given. Because everybody got spirit. Animals have spirit, plants have spirit. But humans have a very interesting type of spirit given to them by 3 gifts: intellect, reasoning, and language.
Mm.
Those 3 gifts separates us from the ape, from the zebra,
Mm.
you know, from the sunflower. We have those 3 gifts. And so it becomes important to get to that point. No distractions, family.
Right. Right. What is your take on the the crash of the dollar? I mean, I see it all over the news. I study a lot of the business channels and news outlets, and I see that, you know, pretty soon, I believe, I'm seeing reports as of July, they're going to try to actually get rid of the physical paper dollar. What is your take and what is your perspective on this economic system and the transfer of the currency, use of currency in the Americas, this corporation we call America?
From the moment the physical money, coin or dollar bill, was created, it was born to die.
Mm.
We have invested a great deal of spirit in that make-believe concept. And we have to understand that there is nothing more valuable than the earth. We have to understand that solar power is the future wealth of the planet. Bottom line.
Mm.
There'll be no air that you can put on your name that would truly tell you what your worth is. No millionaire, billionaire, trillionaire. Your wealth will be like the energy that comes from the sun.
Mm.
It's happening constantly.
Mm.
And it's something that we have to understand. If we really want to get wealthy,
right.
If you are a janitor, see if you can get a job at a solar factory.
Mm.
If you're a secretary, see if you can get a job at a solar factory. Whatever you do in life, you work for FedEx, work in the mail room in a solar plant and study what's going on.
Mm.
Master solar power. because that is the future wealth of the planet.
That's powerful.
That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
Dollar bills can come and go, but the sun will always be around. Because when the sun go down, if the sun goes out where it's not bringing light, heat, and sound energy, you don't have to worry about the next income because you ain't going to be around. The earth will freeze.
Right. When you started saying that, it kind of brought me back to this afternoon when I was listening to that video.
Oh, brother, there is no doubt, and it is so profound. That isn't it interesting that where the sun shines the brightest, the people are always the most melanated.
Absolutely.
We are walking gold.
Yep.
One of the questions, there's a brother that sells water, very healthy water. And he's out of Atlanta, Soul Society. And at the end of my presentation at JB's, we did a interview. And he sells like gold water. And he says, when you hear the word gold, what does it mean to you? And I explained to him that our ancestors did not value gold the way we do. The value of gold was in its eternal ability to stay the way it was. And so when they shaped and molded a statue in gold, the gold wasn't what was important. It was the fact that that statue, the reverence that they gave to that particular statue, would last forever. It's a different way of looking at stuff.
Absolutely. Wow.
My question of power to our community is this. If all the supermarkets and all of the places that you get your food, restaurants, were to close down, could you eat?
Right. Right.
There was a sister who worked in a nutritional part of the school. She was the one that prepared the food for the students, and then there was another section of them that worked with the teachers. And this sister, knowing that I enjoyed salads, she and her sister had a little house in the Bronx. They had a backyard. And in their backyard, they had fruits, vegetables. And every so often, Sister Sadie would bring in lettuce and tomatoes, cucumbers that came from her backyard.
That's what's up.
Okay. And I had a friend that worked on Wall Street. And this brother made buku bucks. Okay. He made a whole bunch of money. Now, my question to us is, who had more power? Sister Sadie or Brother Moneybags? Sadie. Because with all that money Brother Moneybags had, he couldn't eat it.
Right.
And if all the restaurants and everything closed down where you get your food, could you eat? Sadie could, and her sister. But this brother couldn't. Power is the ability to feed yourself independent of anybody else. And it is solar power that brings that into existence. And so what we have to do, Brother Andre, is we have to understand what's important. And, you can go to Kindle and you can download for free a book titled Solar Power Demystified. And read it. Solar Power Demystified. DEMYSTIFIED. Solar Power Demystified. You can learn about solar power.
That's powerful.
We have to teach our children solar power.
Absolutely.
And you can start by just teaching them the parts of the sun.
Right. Right. It's something when you were speaking about the gold, it struck something in my mind when you think about how powerful and how valuable the world sees King Tut and his, crown and, his whole entire tomb. If you think about it, that's probably, if I would dare to say, the most recognized, one of the most, if not the most recognized monument on the planet. And do you think it's the gold, or do you believe it's the image of the young king?
And you see, that's the question. Did they do the mask in gold simply because gold was of value? Or did they do the mask in gold so it would last for eternity, so that thousands of years later, the ancestors, their descendants or ascendants would be able to chart his history?
Right. Yeah, that's powerful.
That's the value of gold. Gold itself has no real value.
Right.
As it relates to life-giving forces.
Right.
You get you a nice backyard with food, that's worth all the gold in the world.
It's true. Especially with what they're doing to the foods nowadays.
That's the bottom line. That is the bottom line.
So what do you think with, okay, the transfer for the dollar, which you said it was born to die, which we see now, where do you think the state of this economy is? Because if from me looking at it and just, you know, taking notes and being very very paying attention to detail and being very critical on how I'm seeing and viewing the chain of events that's unfolding, how do you see the future of this country, or this corporation, I should say, in the next 5 to 10 years in terms of economic standpoint?
I don't know. But there is something I do know. We have to get ourselves together. That's one thing I know. And I know that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad laid out a plan. Marcus Mosiah Garvey laid out a plan. Noble Drew Ali laid out a plan. Our ancestors that were newly released from being enslaved bought land.
Right.
They had land. I know that Africa is the single richest place on the earth. We need to start to create relationships with our family, our diasporian family, and our family in Africa. I am a foundational Black American. There's no doubt. My mommy is from Boston. My daddy's from Alabama. I have ancestors that were enslaved on the plantations. We have to become very clear on what we're talking about when we say foundational Black Americans. It is not anti-African. It is a legacy. Elon Musk, born in South Africa. He's an American citizen. Legally, he's an African American. There have been students in my class who were born in Kenya, but they were American. Their parents happened to be in Africa. They were born in Africa, and then the parents brought them back to America. They got scholarships as African Americans. African American, as it relates right now legally, includes all people of African descent. It is not against African people, because I am Nebu Afrika, which in the Roman language would be called Pan-Africans. And we have to be very clear about this in our conversations with our brothers and sisters.
Right.
I have had the great opportunity of visiting various countries, being invited by the African community: Holland, Britain, London, Birmingham, England. And from the moment I stepped off the plane, they treated me like family. And I saw them as family.
Right.
When I went to Holland, I did some work in Haarlem. Haarlem.
Wow.
Which is in Holland. And and I was there for a week. And the House of Kepra, which was the organization that brought me to Holland, when they asked me what should be the title of my visit, I told them, from Harlem, New York to Haarlem, Holland, the ties that bind us.
Wow, that's powerful.
And so I make no misunderstanding. If you are African, anywhere in the world, you are my family. And if I have the opportunity, the pleasure, and the privilege of visiting you on your home turf, I recognize your sovereignty where you are. And no matter what I may contribute to wherever you are, I still understand that you as a people were charting that course long before I got there.
Mm.
So when you come to America, it is important for you to respect the foundational Black American community and understand what it means when we say we want reparations. We have to know the difference between creation and contribution.
Mm. Yeah, that's a big difference.
It is. Many groups growing up in the Bronx as I did, I was the generation of rap. The hip hop. See, hip hop is a culture.
Right.
Rap is the evocation of that culture.
Right.
Hip hop came out of doo-wop. The Motown sound, the doo-wop. Doo-wop came out of bebop.
Mm.
Bebop came out of rhythm and blues. Rhythm and blues came out of blues. Blues came out of the spiritual on the plantation, and the spiritual came from Africa when we were so rudely interrupted, kidnapped, held in bondage, brought to America. We brought the spiritual to America.
Mm.
And then the spiritual created the blues.
Mm.
The blues created the rhythm and blues. The rhythm and blues created bebop, which includes jazz. Bebop created doo-wop. Doo-wop created hip-hop.
Mm.
The culture. And there's a difference when I hear groups from outside the foundational Black American experience say that they helped to create rap. No, you didn't.
Right.
You made great contributions,
Right.
which I highly respect. We are now in the throes of arguing over who created rap music. Rap music was the evocation of the foundational Black American experience.
Facts.
It was created by foundational Black Americans,
Facts.
but it was contributed greatly by peoples of other cultures. In reggae music, starting up out of the Dominican Republic in particular, something called reggaeton.
Yep. Yep.
Phenomenal contribution.
Mm-hmm.
But the Dominican American community did not create reggae music.
Facts.
See, we have to begin to get the paralysis out of our analysis and be able to look at things scientifically. Rap music came out of the Gil Scott-Heron, the Last Poets, Sonia Sanchez, Nikki Giovanni, who, by the way, happened to be Hispanic.
Mm.
Sonia Sanchez and Nikki Giovanni. But they always identified with the foundational Black American community. And so these are the kinds of things that we have to start look at, and we have to begin to understand that there's no one group African gonna get out this alone.
Right. Right.
And nobody getting out of this without foundational Black Americans. In America, ain't nobody getting out. If we don't get out, you ain't getting out.
Right.
And these are just things that we have to come to understand.
That's facts.
And sometimes it's hard because people want to take claim for things that they didn't do. I understand.
Oh, it happens a lot.
But imitation is the highest form of flattery, brother.
There you go.
So I don't get upset because I realize that we have done great things in this country and we have set the tone for the world.
Right.
And that's why everybody wants to come here. Years, and others have been saying for years. If it had not been for the foundational Black American struggle during the civil rights movement in the 50s and 60s, when the laws were passed in 64 and 65 as it relates to civil rights, it automatically broke down the immigration laws of 66. And that's what allowed Asians and Africans and people from around the world to come to America. If you are here in this country, you are here because of the struggle of foundational Black Americans. You don't owe me nothing but respect who got you here. It was a group of foundational Black Americans with the help of our good brother, Harry Belafonte and Sidney Poitier, and other peoples of the African community that identified with foundational Black Americans, that fought for the right to bring African immigrants to this country and to allow them to get scholarships. And one of those individuals that benefited from the foundational Black American fight to bring Africans to America, his last name was Obama. So our former president, Barack Obama, should thank the foundational Black American community for fighting to get his father here, who would meet his mother and then give birth to him. Know the ledge, the knowledge. That's what blue and red pill talk about. Know the ledge.
Right.
Know where you came from. And respect the foundational Black American community. There's a lot of situation going on now between us as an African people in America.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to get inside, close the door, and deal with this issue amongst ourselves. We have to stop fighting in public.
That's facts.
And we have to respect each other. And folk have to understand the role that foundational Black Americans played in the building of this nation. Because the reason why you come to this country to benefit from the blood, the sweat, the tears, and the lives of foundational Black Americans that put everything on the line for freedom, which then brought you here. And if you got a scholarship, you can thank Adam Clayton Powell, the congressman from Harlem. If you eat lunch in your school, you can thank Black people, particularly the Black Panther Party.
Facts.
But we as foundational Black Americans must also know our history and be able to interact with our community in a way that it doesn't create wedges between us.
What are you that's a powerful point right there. And that's something that I've seen on so many different levels. I've seen it from, small groups that I'm a part of that I won't name. I've seen it from larger groups that I'm a part of that I won't name, and I see it in the community. Some of the work that I do in the community, whether it's with the schools or with the nonprofits or community organizations that give back and pour into the community. But one of the things that I've seen is funny. I was just talking to the Queen about this yesterday. Is that we can be so much more effective and more powerful if we took each one of these branches of the finger and combine them so we can create and make that fist. But it's like everybody wants to work individually as a finger. And the brother who I'm working on the project that we're working on behind the scenes, that's one of the reasons why I know this is going to happen, because neither one of us have the problem being Pippen. Like, I don't have to be Jordan every time. I could be Pippen. I want the ring. I don't care about the stats. I don't care about the post-game interview. I want the ring. I want the trophy. That's what matters to me. But so many of us feel like, I think that they have to be the center of the movement, or they have to be on the pedestal higher than the rest. What is that about? What do we have to do to eliminate that mentality so that we can come together and unite and work together to be able to create what we need to create to do, like you said, and get ourselves straight?
That's not a Black problem. That's a human problem.
Right.
In classrooms, I used to do, when I did staff development in the Board of Education, I used to talk about there's 3 types of education. There's the 3 types of teachers you could be in the classroom. You can be individualistic, you can be competitive, or you can be cooperative. Individual is when you tell the student, look, you don't look around. You do your work, you be all right. Individual. Don't worry about nobody else. You ain't competing with them and you ain't cooperating with them. Then you have the competitive teacher, who when he or she gives a test, if you got 100, your paper go on top. You got 90 under the 100, 80 underneath the 100, 70 underneath the 80. If you didn't pass the test, your paper don't go up on the wall at all. You're a non-person in the classroom.
Wow.
And then you have the cooperative that says, if all of y'all don't get through this, none of y'all are going to get through this. And so at your point of excellence, when you get that 100, it is now your job to work with the student who's having difficulty passing the test, because that's where you learn leadership skills. And you also learn what you've learned better, because the best teacher is the best learner, and the best learner is the best teacher. So if you could teach something, it means you understand what was going on, but you've also gained leadership skills.
That's facts.
This idea of always trying to be on top. You see, my thing about competition is I compete with me. Today, I want to be a better person than I was yesterday. Tomorrow, I want to be a better person than I was today. There was a friend of my father, Mr. Andrade. When we grew up in the projects, you know, he wanted to keep his son out of trouble. And he also wanted to keep the other children out of trouble. So we started a track team. And he was able to get us competitions, things like that. But when we would go to Central Park, which was near the project that I grew up in, and we'd be racing, practicing. One of the things he always said to us is something that I still remember to this day. He said, whenever you get up into the starter line, be on your A+ game. Because once the signal goes off for you to run, the moment you look around to see where any of your competition is, you automatically slow up.
Wow.
He said, if you get into the starter booth on your A+ game, you don't have to worry about nobody else, because you're on your A game. And that's what I say to us. Right. Whatever you do, however you do it, make sure you're on your A game. And don't look around at other people, because the moment you look around, you slow up your game. Children used to enjoy me telling them that.
Right. That's powerful, though.
Because I used to take them out into the yard and we'd have races.
Right.
And I taught them how not to look around. Because that's one of the first things most people do.
Yeah, absolutely.
They look, even if they're doing good, they look around. The moment you look around, no matter how fast you're going, you're still slowing up. You see the end point, you're at the starting point. That's the only thing you're dealing with right now.
Right.
From start to finish. All this other stuff is distraction.
Right.
And if by chance you don't win the race, somebody else was on their A+ game. Study what they did. And the next time you get on that race, apply what you learned. Because winners never lose. Either win or they learn how to win next time.
That's facts. Yeah.
We have to train our brain to think like that.
Yeah, that's real. I definitely can relate to that for sure.
No competition out here. There are people doing great things. Okay, the concept of to try to put you down, never.
Right.
I want to watch you.
Right.
I'm going to watch your game.
Right.
And I'm going to take your aspects of your winning game and apply it to my own individual life. I don't want your game. I want your application of your game to be applied to mine. And so you're going to push me to do better.
Right.
You know, back in the day, and I think this is where the rap battle comes from. You know, the jazz artists, you know, Charlie Parker, John Coltrane, Miles Davis, they'd hear that one of them was in town playing down at the club. And they would come in, right, to the show. And, you know, they'd see each other and, you know, they would invite them up on the stage.
Right.
Right. And they you know, they'd be jamming. Right. And the thing is that each one tried to outdo each other, but in that type of competition, it was you on your A game is pulling me up to my A game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And it's not that I'm not appreciating you. It's that I am appreciating you and I am applying your A game to mine. You're making me a better person. When who was it? I think LeBron James broke Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record.
Yeah, recently. Yeah.
Okay. That's beautiful. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar brought that point here.
Right.
And made everybody else. It took how long for LeBron to get there?
Years, 20
Now in years to come, LeBron is going to be somewhere where there's going to be a young basketball player come up and meet it. You push the envelope constantly.
Right.
But you do it with respect, integrity, and honor. If you're going to compete, it's really cooperation in a certain sense. Because first of all, they invited him up on the stage.
Right. Right.
And, you know, going back to something that you talked about earlier, I use a concept as it relates to the sun and the moon. Okay. Today, you might be the sun. The sun shines, but the moon lights. The moon don't have no shine. When you see the moon, that's really the sun's shining on the moon.
Wow. The reflection.
Yes, the moon don't have shine.
Wow.
If today you are the sun and you shine on me as the moon, tomorrow I'm going to be the sun and I'll remember your good deed and I'll shine on you and you'll have moonlight.
That's dope.
That's how we have to start thinking.
Yeah.
As opposed to the competition and the way in which we're talking to each other, putting each other down.
Right.
No. I respect your way.
Right.
Okay. I give you props. I like it.
Right.
And I'm going to study you and admire you. And I'm going to take your shine and I'm going to put it on my light.
Yep. It's motivation.
And maybe someday we'll be together again and I'm going to have some sunshine and you're going to be the moon and I'm going to shine on you and you're going to have some moonlight.
That's what's up.
That's
like
Africa.
Yeah.
That's the original thought of nature. That's what nature does. Just looking at the sun and the moon shows you in nature, in cosmic nature, that's what happens.
Yeah.
Moon ain't got no light. Earth ain't got no light. Earth wouldn't have life on the planet if it wasn't for the sunshine.
Right. Right. That's powerful. And then I wanted to, you got me thinking about the sun. I don't want to get off course what I wanted to get into, but it's funny.
Go ahead, man.
It just got me thinking about the video with the nano diamonds, how you broke down the diamonds. And you know what's crazy? I am going to jump off course because it is what it is. But what inspired me to share that video is I was in Orlando about 2 weeks ago, I believe. And there's a brother who has matter of fact, I was talking to you when I was in Orlando. Actually, I talked to you that night when I was in Orlando. But I don't think I told you, but at that shop, he has some powerful African statues, artifacts, all kind of, very, 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 very beautiful pieces that he has from the continent. But I'll share the picture soon. But the one that stood out to me the most, and I was like, when I was standing next to it, I said, I got to tell Professor Kaba about this. He had about 3 or 4 doors, and they were from the Dogon tribe. And when I saw those doors, I was like, wow. I had to take some pictures with them and just touch them, because the Dogon, if I'm not mistaken, I want to say the Dogon video might be the first video of yours that I ever saw when I first started studying you years ago. And so it was just so crazy how it came so full circle from the very first time I, got exposed to your work to being in that place and seeing a Dogon door. And I mean, it was a powerful door. I couldn't read the hieroglyphs, but I took pictures of it. I really wanted to send them to you just to see if it's something that, that you could break down for me. But it was powerful. And even just standing there next to it and touching, I could feel the energy. And it looked like a door to another realm. Like it was powerful. But it just took me back to that mindset and that thought about the sun and how powerful the sun is, and us being, children of the sun. But then on top of knowing that we are connected as beings, from different star systems all the way to here. When you talk about Potolo and you talk about Sirius, and you talk about all the different aspects that make us who we are when we go back to Kemet. And we go back to through our history of our ancestors through time, thousands of years of time. That kind of triggered in my mind about how powerful that piece was.
Yeah, it is, and you're right. It is a doorway. Pineal gland is a doorway.
Yeah.
Black dot. And so the concept of the black dot, the concept of the door, for you to get into your home, you walk from one realm into another.
Yeah.
And our ancestors created a spiritual concept that puberty was like a door. When you walked through that door, you had no right not to be an adolescent anymore. You had to do what adolescents do. Don't go back to when you was 8 and 9.
Right.
When you became 19, 20, 21, you go through another door.
Yep.
Okay. The first door was conception. And conception is when your mommy and daddy got together, and if I may put it like this, had a big bang. And out of that was the fertilization of your mother's egg.
Yeah.
And a zygote was formed. As the zygote began to multiply its cells, one that really is two, because the very first essence is both your mother and your father. It's your mother's egg and your father's sperm. But that connection creates two. 2 becomes 4, 4 becomes 8, 8 becomes 16, and pretty soon you have a blastula. And so the concept of having that blackness, and one of the first things formed is the blackness of your mother's womb, and of course, the black concept of the carbon that is now manufacturing all of the different cells that are in the blastula that eventually become. That's a doorway. That was a doorway from your spirit that was living, that was then encased in a tomb, which becomes your body. There's an African concept that says, when I was born, I died. And when I died, I was reborn.
Wow.
Think about it.
Yeah.
You were there.
Yeah.
It's just that your mommy and daddy coming together, creating that zygote, captured you. It captured your spirit.
Right.
When you die, your spirit is released out of the body, which is being born again.
Right.
And so there are doorways: conception, and then when you come forward out of your mother at birth, you're born. That's another doorway. You go from one realm to another, just like you did in conception. And then you grow, you become mature, and there's another doorway between the ages of 7, 8, and 9, which is when you get reasoning skills. Okay? And then 12, 13, sometimes 11, give or take, there's another doorway that you go into the adolescent level, where you now have the ability to reproduce yourself. In young men, they produce the sperm, and in young ladies, they go through their monthly cycle that creates the egg. That's another doorway, when you can now produce yourself. At 21, there's a certain spirit of maturity that comes upon you, that you now take on the responsibilities of the community. It's no longer about I, me, and mine. It's about we, us, and ours. One of the most important things that a human can do that changed the very nature of human interaction and growth was the art of sharing. You grow apples, I grow oranges. You eat apple all day, I eat orange all day. And then one day we get together and we say, but listen, let me give you some oranges and you give me some apples. Now you eat apples and oranges and I eat apples and oranges.
Right.
And then we find someone that grow banana or mango. And then pretty soon we're talking to each other, which creates communication. Communication now creates trade. Trade becomes business. Going back to your earlier statement about money and about what's going to happen. In the Indo-European mind, they created an abstract, artificial representation of something that should be desired. Listen, man, you get on the train or the bus and pull out a wad of dollars. Everybody, well, most people on the bus going to be looking at you. And they're going to be looking in your hand.
Yeah.
That's what money does.
Yep.
Okay? Pull out a big wad of money. Everybody be looking at you. That's artificial. Talk about artificial intelligence. That's artificial.
Yeah.
It was born to die.
Manufactured.
It's manufactured. The land, the sunlight, nature will always be our wealth. Economy, economy, ecology, the study of your environment. Echo comes from the Greek word oikos, which means your environment or your home. Economy means to know your environment or know your home. O-I-K-O-S. Don't believe a word I say. Look the word up. O-I-K-O-S. It means home or environment. Economy means for you to know your environment, to know your nature, to know the land. Probably one of the most important people. I respect Albert Einstein. He was a very intelligent man, a very kind person too. But the greatest scientist of the 20th century, beyond a doubt, was George Washington Carver. He saved America from their cash crop by growing peanuts and soybean in the soil. Like Jesus bringing Lazarus back to life. George Washington Carver single-handedly brought the earth back to life. Know your environment. Know your nature. That's wealth.
Absolutely. You know, I love the segue of what you did with the fruit with the business, because one of the questions that I had written down was to talk about doing good business. This is something that we've had conversations about off air in terms of how to do good business. And that's one of the main focal points for this particular podcast, is to share and add value to as many people as I can in terms of business and the growth mindset and the business, being business minded, or, you know, working on personal development and growth. But when it comes to doing good business, how can we level up to, and because there's a lot of us doing good business, but for most of us, or some of us who's not doing good business, and you and I know what we mean by good business, what can we do as a people to do good business, to where we can take good business and turn it into great business, especially being that we were the originators of the trade of business, or created business in the marketplace?
When I went to Kemet for the first time, 1983, Egypt, for those that may not know.
Right.
When I went to Kemet for the first time, we went down south to Aswan, where most of the people there are Nubian, African, because it's hot. That's the hottest part of the whole of Egypt, and that's because it's south. And I remember there was this brother, you know, a lot of different stalls where there's vendors and market. And there was a brother there that was selling pyramids, like 3 different size pyramids, small, 3 different sizes though. And so I went to him and I said, wow, how much? He said $10. So I went and gave him $10. And he looked at me very disappointed. I didn't quite understand why. So when I got back to the hotel and we were eating dinner, I was at the table and I was talking to people about, hey, you know, I bought these 3 pyramids and The guy said $10, and he seemed disappointed. Everybody at the table was surprised. Later on, I was able to get together with a brother that lived there, Mohammed, and he had a boat. He had a felucca named Christmas, and we used to go on the boat, and he would take me up and down Hapi, or the Nile River. He would point things out. He brought me to the Sahara Desert. And I said to him, Muhammad, I was doing, I bought a pyramid, I bought these pyramids from the brother. He told me it was $10, but he seemed disappointed when I gave him $10. He said, well, one of the things about us is that it's not so much about the money as it is about communication. He said, next time you buy something, don't pay the first price he gives you. Talk to him. Talk to him, about things. So, okay, I go back to the same brother. And I say, I really like those pyramids. And I said, I have, at the time, my son wasn't born, 83. And I said, I have my wife and my daughter, Sasha. Our older daughter was born, or was in the process of coming into being. And I said, me. I said, so there's 3 pyramids. He said, oh, okay. Yeah, interesting. I said, you have children? He said, yeah, I have children. I said, do you live here? He said, yeah, I live, because the village was right behind our hotel, the Oberoi.
Okay. And
I began to ask him how he got into his thing, and he began to ask me how to get into my thing. And I said to him, how much are the pyramids? He said, $7. I said, okay. Like, do you go up to Cairo? No, I don't go to Cairo. I stay here. I said, what do you do when you enjoy your life? He said, well, I do this, I do that. He was explaining to me. I said, is there a sport that you enjoy? He enjoyed soccer. He said, wow, that's interesting. I said, have you ever heard of football? He said, I've heard of football, but it's kind of crazy for people to be running around tackling each other.
Right.
Football is good. He said he didn't understand why people football. And I said, long story short, I got in conversation. Do you know I got those pyramids for $2?
Wow.
And the reason why I'm telling this story was it was in the conversation. Business is about when you get to know your customer. And that it is not, because chances are he made profit.
Right.
Okay, if he charged me $2, chances are he probably paid 70 cents for the 3.
Right.
He made a profit, but he was making a living, not a killing. But in our relationship of talking to each other, he got to know me. And I got to know him. And the quality of the business was not what we traded. It was the relationship that we created.
That's a mic drop.
You know what I'm saying? I
know you have a great love for him, the honorable ancestor, as well. So can you kind of tap into the significance of Brother Malcolm, and how can we, this is a phrase that I like to use, how can we not only reverence him with libations, but how can I pour intellectual libations in his honor?
One thing I've looked at Malcolm as I've grown. I taught a college class on Malcolm for 11 years. Malcolm was uncompromising. Malcolm was willing to give up his life for what he believed.
Yeah.
Malcolm had his challenges as a human being, as we all do.
Yep.
Myself, no doubt.
Me too.
We all have our humanity. That's what makes us humans.
Right.
But Malcolm was uncompromising, and he could not be bought. There was nothing that attracted him. The one thing that I've admired about of the many characteristics that Malcolm had that were great, the only way that we could ever truly honor anyone that has been so great is to continue their work. You can name all the schools, the streets, you can put their face on stamps, but all that is empty if you don't continue their work. The only way I can honor El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, Malcolm X, is to continue his work. And while the work that I do may not be the work that he did his work the way he did it. And I am an educator, specifically of children, but of people in general. I'm an educator. That's my lane. And the one thing that I admired about Malcolm was the fact that his character was such, they never had to send undercover agents to figure out what he was doing. Because Malcolm would tell you to your face what he was doing. That is how bold and bodacious he was. He would tell you to your face what he was doing. Others, you may have to send people in to figure it out. They're doing their thing. They're doing it undercover. They're sending messages, you know, they're a little secretive. Malcolm was never secretive. Malcolm was right up in your face, no matter who you were.
Right.
He would do it with respect and dignity. I never heard him curse. He never raised his voice, but he would tell you exactly what his concept was. And I've always tried to replicate that in the work that I do. Because that's a quality in the human being that Malcolm used to always say, that he could disagree with you 99% of the time. But if you were sincere, he could respect you. I use the word authentic. Means the same thing, sincere.
Right.
Malcolm was authentic. He was sincere. There was no game with him. This is where he was coming from. This is what he was doing. Embrace it or drop it.
Right.
And so it is that authenticity, that sincerity that I've always attempted to replicate in my own life. Oh, man, I appreciate you, man. Give my regards to your queen and to your family.
I will, most definitely. I appreciate you.
Yeah, y'all got a dynasty building there.
Hey, we're working on it. We're working on it. That's what's up. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, this has been another episode of Prolific Perspective Podcast, and we are out of here. And once again, Professor Kaba, I appreciate you taking the time to drop a whole wealth of knowledge and information for the people. Peace and blessings, Hotep. We out of here. Peace.